Look at this landscape. Arid, harsh, a place where civilizations traditionally came to die of thirst. Now look at this. This is the same place. This is the Negev Desert. And what you're seeing shouldn't exist. It defies every rule of nature, every expectation of geography. A country with some of the world's most limited natural water resources has somehow built a system of such abundance that they've turned the tables on scarcity itself. They haven't just survived their environment, they've rewritten its rules. This is the story of a national obsession with one simple molecule, H2O. It's a story of a 60-year engineering project so vast it created an artificial river, of factories on the coast that manufacture weather, and of a closed-loop system so efficient it reuses almost every drop. This is how a nation engineered its own miracle, and in the process, created a blueprint every thirsty nation on Earth is now scrambling to copy. The foundation of this entire system was an act of pure, unadulterated audacity. In the early 1960s, facing a booming population and a desert that offered nothing, the leadership made a decision. If the water wouldn't come to the people, they would take the people to the water, by moving the water itself. In 1964, they inaugurated what remains one of the most ambitious civil engineering projects of the 20th century, the National Water Carrier. Think of it not as a pipeline, but as a man-made river. Its mission: pump water from the only major freshwater source in the north, the Sea of Galilee, and transport it south across 80 miles of mountains, valleys, and desert to the Negev. To grasp the scale, picture constructing a system to channel water from the Great Lakes all the way to the deserts of Arizona. The cost in today's terms? Over $1.5 billion. The numbers are staggering. It moves 450 million gallons of water every single day. That's enough to fill 680 Olympic-sized swimming pools daily. It's a hybrid monster of open canals, massive closed pipelines, immense reservoirs, and pumping stations that lift this artificial river over 1,000 feet in elevation. Here's the critical detail most miss. This river never stops. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It is a perpetual motion machine for water. This single artery transformed the nation's destiny, turning the desert into farmland and changing Israel from a food importer into a global agricultural exporter. But this river had one fatal flaw. Its source was finite. It was rearranging a limited deck of cards. And when a severe, multi-year drought struck at the turn of the millennium, the entire system teetered on the edge. The Sea of Galilee, the source, dropped to within inches of a catastrophic point of no return. The miracle was running dry. Yet, creating freshwater was only half of the equation. The true mark of genius, and the system's real sustainable engine, is what happens to the water after it's used. In most of the world, water follows a linear, wasteful path. Source, use, pollution, the ocean. Israel asked a radical question: what if we made it a circle? They built the Shafdan facility and a national network so advanced it redefines waste. Here, what other countries flush away is not merely treated. It's purified to a standard higher than most natural river water in the world. This recycled water is then pumped back south to the very farms that feed the nation. The statistic is almost unbelievable. Israel recycles approximately 90% of its wastewater for agricultural use. Compare that to Spain, the second-place nation, which manages about 20%. It's not even a close competition. This creates a cascading, intelligent hierarchy of water use. 1. Manufactured premium, desalinated seawater for homes and businesses. 2. Natural reserve, lake and spring water, preserved as a strategic backup. 3. Recycled workhorse, ultra-purified wastewater, which now supplies over 50% of all agricultural irrigation water. And we're not talking about watering hardy fodder crops. This reclaimed water grows premium produce for export: gourmet tomatoes, bell peppers, citrus, and even wine grapes. They have closed the loop, creating a circular economy where every drop is used, and then used again. With the macro systems built, the river, the desalination plants, the recycling network, the focus turned microscopic. How do you squeeze maximum life from every single molecule? The answer is a technological ecosystem called precision agriculture, And it started with a simple innovation that changed global farming: drip irrigation. But what exists today goes far beyond a perforated hose. Walk onto a modern farm in the Negev, and you're walking into a live data center. Sensors buried in the soil monitor real-time moisture, salinity, and nutrient levels. Drones with multispectral cameras fly overhead, detecting plant stress invisible to the human eye. All this data streams to cloud-based systems that use algorithms to calculate the exact need of each plant, row by row. The irrigation system then adjusts automatically, delivering water and liquid fertilizer in minute, tailored amounts directly to the root zone. The result? Water savings of up to 70% compared to traditional flood irrigation. This is backed by a staggering annual investment of over $1 billion in agri-tech, fueled by more than 400 specialized startups. They're engineering drought-resistant seeds using advanced gene editing, building vertical farms in climate-controlled warehouses, and deploying AI that predicts pest outbreaks before they happen. The output validates the entire system. Israel produces yields like 18,000 tons of tomatoes per square mile, a productivity rate that could be several times higher than even California's fertile Central Valley. And they do it in a desert, with recycled water. This crisis forced a fundamental pivot. A new philosophy emerged: stop depending on what nature gives you. Start manufacturing what you need. They turned their gaze west, to the one resource their enemies couldn't blockade or poison: the Mediterranean Sea. What they built next looks like it belongs in a sci-fi film. The Sorek plant, operational since 2013, is the largest and most efficient seawater desalination facility of its kind on the planet. It doesn't just filter water, it manufactures freshwater on an industrial scale. Using a process called reverse osmosis, forcing seawater through billions of microscopic membranes under immense pressure, it strips out the salt. Sorek alone produces 165 million gallons of potable water every day, enough for 1.5 million people. The technological leap is best seen in the cost. They can now produce 1,000 liters of drinking water for around 50 cents. 2 decades ago, that cost was 10 times higher. But the real masterstroke wasn't one plant. It was strategic redundancy. They didn't build Sorek as a singular wonder. They built a network. 5 megaplants now dot the Mediterranean coastline. Together, they perform an alchemical miracle so complete that they supply 80% of the country's entire domestic and municipal water consumption. Let that sink in. The water coming out of taps in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem is overwhelmingly manufactured. They have functionally decoupled their water security from the unpredictable skies. The era of praying for rain was over. By the mid-2010s, something unprecedented occurred. This nation, once defined by water scarcity, achieved a structural water surplus. And in the geopolitics of the Middle East, surplus is a form of power that transcends traditional diplomacy. Look at the map. Jordan faces a dire, existential water crisis. The 1994 peace treaty included a modest water clause. Today, that clause is a critical lifeline. The recent Water for Energy deal is a masterpiece of symbiotic statecraft. Jordan will build vast solar farms in its sunny desert to sell green electricity to Israel. In return, Israel will build a new desalination plant and send hundreds of millions of cubic meters of freshwater back to Jordan annually. It's not just aid, it's a mutually binding infrastructure of interdependence. Then came the Abraham Accords of 2020. While headlines focused on diplomatic normalization, the undercurrent was practical necessity. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain aren't just seeking peace. They're seeking Israeli drip irrigation tech, water management software, and desalination know-how for their own arid landscapes. Morocco signed major agreements for the same reason. Even Saudi Arabia, with no official diplomatic ties, is a documented client. Saudi agricultural projects, through third parties, utilize Israeli irrigation and greenhouse technology. Why? Because their own past attempts at desert farming failed, draining ancient fossil aquifers at an unsustainable rate. Israel has performed a profound alchemy, transforming water from a primary vulnerability, a classic target in Middle Eastern conflict, into its most potent strategic asset and diplomatic tool. It's a form of soft power, with the hard, undeniable weight of survival. No system of this magnitude and impact exists without shadows, controversies, and significant trade-offs. To view this as an unblemished triumph is to miss the full, complex picture. First, the geopolitical disparity. In the West Bank, the average Palestinian has access to roughly 73 gallons of water per day. The average Israeli citizen uses about 240 gallons. This inequality stems from complex historical agreements, shared aquifers, and infrastructure gaps. Critics argue that control over water resources remains a deeply contentious lever in the ongoing conflict, a tangible example of asymmetric access to a fundamental right. Second, the environmental and economic price. Energy hunger. The 5 coastal desalination plants consume about 5% of the nation's total electricity output, enough to power hundreds of thousands of homes. Brine pollution. The process returns vast quantities of super salty brine to the Mediterranean, over 1 billion gallons daily, with potential impacts on marine ecosystems still being studied. The financial burden. Total investment over 2 decades exceeds $25 billion, a colossal sum for a small nation. Residential water prices are among the highest in the developed world to fund this infrastructure. Farmers receive subsidized water but face strict, non-negotiable quotas and efficiency mandates. Third, the existential gamble. The Red Sea-Dead Sea Conduit is a $10 billion, 112-mile pipeline project that embodies both ambition and risk. The goal is to stabilize the rapidly shrinking Dead Sea by transferring Red Sea water, generating hydropower, and running a desalination plant along the way. But scientists warn that mixing the two seas' distinct chemistries could trigger unforeseen ecological disasters, like gypsum crystallization or harmful algal blooms. The project is mired in environmental lawsuits and regional political tensions. The evolution isn't slowing. The next frontier is already under development. Atmospheric water generation. Devices that literally pull moisture from the dry desert air. Nanotechnology membranes, promising to cut the energy cost of desalination in half. Solar-powered desalination, pilot plants in the desert that run entirely off-grid, producing both water and power. Advanced recharge, injecting purified wastewater deep into aquifers for natural filtration and storage. The goal is moving from abundance to ubiquity, making water availability a non-issue anywhere. So, what's the ultimate lesson of this 60-year project? Israel has demonstrated, in concrete and code, that the limits imposed by nature are not necessarily final. They are a starting point for human ingenuity. They proved that with relentless focus, technological innovation, and a willingness to pay a high price up front, you can engineer resilience against one of humanity's oldest threats, drought. But the story also carries a sobering warning. Technological solutions create new dependencies, carry environmental costs, and can exacerbate inequalities if not governed with equity in mind. The blueprint is not just about pipes and pumps. It's about the wisdom to manage the power they convey. As climate change tightens its grip and the UN warns that billions will face water stress in coming years, this desert-born model stands as both a beacon of possibility and a case study in complex triumph. The world isn't just watching. It's adapting, learning, and building. Because the fight for the future is, quite literally, a fight for every drop.